Okay, can you see my screen, class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So organic chemicals. So we are now here in the organic chemicals. This based on the chemistry of carbons and hydrocarbons, which is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, are the uh, primary composition of these organic chemicals. These are the roots of most organic chemicals: hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. Okay, so we have these different types of organic chemicals. We have these categories or types. We have aromatic hydrocarbons, those with aromatic structure, like benzene, toluene, xylene, and naphthalene. And we have also halogenated hydrocarbons such as chlorofluorocarbons, rayon, the PCBs. So it is number one um, material for in the refrigerator. No, in the CFCs. CFCs is also a material for the refrigerator. So, and then we have also phosphorylated hydrocarbons. So, example of these are organophosphates, and another is oxygenated hydrocarbons, which is aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic acids. So different organic chemicals. So can you still remember this class in organic chemistry? So along with these organic chemicals, we have different uh, toxicological hazards or hazards. So most of them are flammable. So the characteristics of these are the flash points are lower and upper and have lower flame and have a upper flammability, and there is an auto ignition that can cause fire temperature when certain temperatures are reached or achieved. Okay, and most of them are anesthetics, and they should always be used in well ventilated spaces. Okay, so we have to store these organic chemicals in a not so in a room temperature. Okay, so and then also in a well ventilated, not too crowded, and there is really enough of spaces with food sa laboratory. So that is why these organic chemicals must be properly placed in order. Okay, then third is that some are carcinogen, some are can cause the development of cancer. Okay, so there is a uh, when the when there when the toxicity limits are known, so you have to wear appropriate personal protective equipment worn. So, but always remember, class, that carcinogenesis or cancer, the cause of cancer is not just an acute exposure na you just develop it once lang, then exposed lang ka once. But if you are exposed it day by day or regularly, so in after many years, ganun, so you, eventually, so God forbid, so there are really people na they will be developed they will be having cancers with food. So others are it's ang factor is genetics, but but the cancer is triggered because of the chronic exposure. Meaning, chronic exposure is the regular exposure na. Ang acute is just ang toxicity that you just develop it at one-time exposure na kanina expose ka ana nga product, and then naka-develop ka toxicity, and that's ang meaning ani is acute toxicity. But when we say chronic toxicity, so there is a regular exposure. Like for example, we are working in the lab for how many years? Research assistant. Just like me, I was a research assistant before. Then I was exposed with many chemicals. So for example, there's carcinogens. So if I have a genetic background in having cancer, so God forbid, so mga ganun. So there may be possibility good po nga ma-trigger good ang cancer because of this chronic exposure to other chemicals. And that's because well sa ato we don't know man ang atong mga background information sa atong genetics. So while in the US many are already have undergone genetic testing, they know the genes that are in their DNA na they have cancer, they will be having cancer, or they have just kanang mga suppressed genes that may trigger if you'll be exposed with these things or that. So mo na siya class that you have to be aware of all the chemicals that you should handle, and not just the chemicals in the laboratory but also at home, ang inyong good chemicals at home na inyong ginagamit every day. Okay? So may nipasok. Okay? Next, we have inorganic chemicals. We have acids, bases, and salts. So, most of them are cleaners, are bleaches. My acid is hydrochloric acid, muriatic acid, ganon. So, now in identifying acids, I think we are familiar with this one. Acids have a pH less than 7. So, it has higher concentration of hydrogen ions. So the indicator for identifying the acids is that the litmus paper will turn red and it has a taste of tart. So for example, you are tasting calamansi juice and calamansi, ganun. So there is citric acid there, okay, or vitamin C. Okay, so it reacts with metal to form hydrogen gas. Okay, so in identifying bases, it's just also a review. It has a greater pH than 7, and it has low concentration of H plus ions. So the litmus paper will turn to blue. Okay, and then it tastes bitter and a very slippery and soapy feel texture. So, in the another types of inorganic chemicals are the salts, in which these are one or more metal ions are combined with one or more non-metal ions. So, there is formation when an acid and base react with one another, and it can be toxic and contain heavy metal. So, the hazard of these inorganic chemicals is that it is corrosive. So the second most commonly used and transported group of hazardous chemicals. So the corrosive, these corrosive chemicals, these are materials that can attack and chemically destroy exposed body tissues. So it can cause particularly damage as soon as they touch the skin, the eyes, the respiratory tract, and the digestive tract. Okay, so that is the hazardous risk of these salts. So in the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, so the definition of corrosive is the chemical that causes visible destruction or irreversible alteration in living tissue by chemical action of the site of contact. Okay? So let's go now with the properties of chemicals. So the physical properties, it can be measured, but the chemical properties is that how a chemical will react. Okay, so these are the physical properties of the chemicals. We have this volatility, It's the tendency of the substance to evaporate at normal temperature. The boiling point is when uh, the chemicals will boil at particular temperature. Okay, so sa water it's 100 degrees Celsius, but for alcohol, since it's more volatile than water, of course it's less than 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, so the vapor pressure is the measure of the pressure that a gas or vapor will exert on the inside of a closed container. So it is measured in mercury, in millimeter of mercury or inches of mercury. So pressure C. So as temperature rises, the vapor pressure increases. Okay, so another physical property is the evaporation rate. So how many uh, the time that will the concentration time that will that the chemicals will evaporate, and then we have also the melting point or the freezing point. And in physical properties is there is also specific gravity in which in the those specific gravity of water is 1, and when it is less than 1, it is less dense and will float in water. Now, if the specific gravity is more than 1, it is more dense and will sink in water. Okay, so we have also the vapor density. It is when the gases and the vapors are compared to normal room air. Okay, and any gas or vapor that has a number less than 1 is less dense or will rise in air. And we have also solubility and chemical compatibility. So, and another is the pH of the chemical. So when there's low and high in numbers, these are corrosive. And the flash point is the minimum temperature at which a substance gives off vapor sufficient to form an ignitable mixture with air. So it is the temperature at which that there is it can ignite fire in the air and eventually will cause explosion. Ganon. So this is the flash point. So it's measured in degrees Celsius or degree Fahrenheit. Okay. So physical properties, if it is flammable, so there is a indication that the flash point below 141 degrees Fahrenheit. Combustible, the flash point is above 141 degrees Fahrenheit and below 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is ignitable, so the flash point less than 141 degrees Fahrenheit. And also you have the lower flammable limit and also upper flammable limit. So these are the range of chemical vapor to air ratio that needs to exist before a chemical will ignite. Okay, so I guess the lower flammable limit is the lowest concentration by volume in air, which will explode or ignite or burn when there is an ignition source. Now, the upper flammable limit naman is the maximum concentration. So, I think it is clearly stated and self-understandable, and lower is the lowest concentration, while the upper flammable is the maximum concentration by volume in air, which will explode, ignite, or burn when there is an ignition source. So, the cause of fire is combined with these three elements, which is there is oxidizer and that promotes burning. Now, when there is fuel, that is something to burn, and then the ignition source. There is also the chemical properties. So natapos na ito sa physical properties, and we also have chemical properties. For example, we have the chemicals and have oxidizers. Ganon. So these are the properties that releases oxygen or another oxidizing material when there is chemical reaction. So So it can be pyrophoric, can also water reactive. And so it may, the oxidizers may cause or enhance the combustion of other materials. Pyrophoric is solids and liquids spontaneously ignite in air at certain temperatures. And reaction to water is the chemicals become spontaneously flammable or give off flammable or toxic gas when in contact with water. Okay, so these are the chemical references that you have to take a look if you want to know the specific physical and chemical properties of your chemicals. For example, is the material safety data sheets in which I have already discussed it with you. Second is the chemical dictionary. I think many laboratories have it also. And then the product label, the Farm Chemical Handbook, the Poison Control Center. Okay, so I've already discussed it with you last time for the exercise one, the material safety data sheet. So this is OSHA, which OSHA means Occupational Safety and Health Administration. It is in the US, but in the Philippines, it is Occupational Safety and Health Standard Act. So man siya ang kaning sa Philippines. So in the material safety data sheet, you will know the identity, the physical and chemical characteristics, the physical hazards, the health hazards, the routes of entry of your chemicals when there is inhalation, ingestion, or skin contact, and then also the PAL and the CLV. Okay, so you will also know the carcinogenicity, the precautions of safe handling and use, control measures, emergency and first aid procedures, date of preparation, and the name, address, phone number of preparation. Okay, so that's it for the wala nang iba, ito lang yung material safety data sheet, yung mga chemical references. But I will give you a quote here, class, that understanding types of chemicals, properties, potential hazards, and use of reference materials will enable you to handle chemicals safely and appropriately. So, parang, ligtas talaga ang may alam, class. So, that's, most people are really saying nowadays, no? Ligtas talaga ang may alam. You have to know all the chemicals that we should be handling in the future. So we should not forget these things because you are the future biotechnologist, future molecular biologist, molecular scientist. So you will do series of experiments in the future. So it should be a must and a basic thing for you sa inyong knowledge. Okay, so that's it for the introduction, the pre-lab. Okay, but here is now. So do you have any questions, class, before I proceed?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay, so I will now proceed to the exercise 2. Okay, the objective of this exercise is to find appropriate reference sources of toxicological hazards of chemical substances. So this is just a simple exercise, class. So this is the methods. So number 1 is you have to search online the MSDS 7 of these following chemicals from trusted sources. So the chemicals are the methylparaben, the sodium hypochlorite, benzene, and hydrochloric acid. So apat lang. So methylparaben, sodium hypochlorite, benzene, and hydrochloric acid. And then you have to get the necessary information about the product description and the toxicological information. After that is you have these are the sources that you have to look upon sa MSDS. Ang MSDS sa Sigma Aldrich, sa Merck, and the Fisher Scientific. So these are chemical companies that really manufacture different chemicals that can be that are suppliers chemicals here in the Philippines and other countries. So these are mga renowned na mga chemical companies. So that's why I have to mo siya mga sources na I have to include this one. So actually marami pa siya na mga um, chemical companies, but I had to limit this one into three. There are Abbott, there are kanang Thermo Fisher, Scientific, Biorad. So the sources, the following sources are just three that you have to include, you have to search kay para dili pud kayo daghan pud kayo and very overwhelming na kayo. So you have to search for the MSDS, Sigma Aldrich, Merck, and Fisher Scientific with the MSDS of these chemicals: methyl paraben, sodium hypochlorite, benzene, and hydrochloric acid. So ang inyong kuhaang information lang is product description and toxicological information. And then you have to discuss the information gathered. And in your discussion, you have to compare the following sources if they have common information, or what are the different information that you got from Sigma Aldrich, from Merck, or Fisher Scientific. So you have to compare. So asa man ang mas daghang information nga na-extract ninyo. So I think that's it, class. So this is just a simple exercise, and you just have 3 weeks to comply it. So I will just indicate a deadline there, VSCEE, in order for you to submit your lab reports. So okay, are there any questions or clarifications, class, in this exercise or method?
Ma'am.
Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
How about the others?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so I think this is the last slide, class. So thank you and God bless. And I will leave this verse in the Bible, which is I like. So it is in James 1:5, not John 1:5. It is James 1:5. So it says there, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. I know that you are intelligent. I know that you have a lot of capacity to think about ideas, but there are situations and circumstances that you just got exhausted, ganun. So I think we are all experiencing that because we are too overwhelmed with this kind of situation, this pandemic. So if we lack wisdom, we should ask the Lord. So we have to trust God in all circumstances, class, because we don't know what the future bring. So kaya laban lang taanin yung dapita sa atong pag-online class. And I really hope na you have already adjusted to this kind of learning that we are in right now. So kami po, we are continually adjusting to these things, and I hope that we will all help each other to be adjusted and having a worthwhile learning experience in this for this SEM and in this pandemic duration. So we really don't know when this pandemic will end, but we are certain that we can still go on and we can still live a life to the fullest, even in the midst of this trying times. So by trusting the Lord, asking God for guidance in every situation. So laban lang sa class, ha? Okay, so okay, are there any questions before I close this meeting? So before that pala ay mag-picture muna tayo. We will take a picture. So for that, so I will ask, wala ni question, class?
None, ma'am.
Not so far, ma'am.
None so far. Okay. So, okay, ang sama ni. Ako na rin mga tanong ni Ma'am Donna. Sige, okay class, can you open your camera and we will have a photo op. Very nice ang background ni Jan Celestine.
Background lang malakas, ma'am.
Para motivated, no? Bitaw, baka hindi maka... Napod sa Malacanang Palace, si Snyder Carveda. Si Schneider. So, ragnay mo na siyang spokesperson. Sige, dear. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. So,
Hi, Ivy. Enrique, do you have, camera? Okay. Okay, Ivy. Sige, let us, post.
Nadakot akong camera sa front, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, Ricky. Okay, let's take a picture. 1, 2, 3, smile. Wait first. Okay. Magdi screenshot. A print screen. Okay, another smile. Okay. Thank you so much, class, for attending.
Ma'am.
God bless.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Bye,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Welcome. Thank you too.